Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am going to be talking about the Fellowship of the Ring. This is a discussion video that is really late coming out, but here we are, and I finally am glad to get this done. So basically, this is part of Octolkein. I'm reading the Hobbit, um, Lord of the Rings, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and basically the point of Octolkein is to consume works by J.R.R. Tolkien and then have the bit of discussion about the stuff that we read. So it's me, Steve Donoghue, and James Chatham. Steve has been doing videos about the Silmarillion, and I have so far done a video on the Hobbit. We'll be doing this video is going to be on the Fellowship of the Ring, and I should have my discussion for the Two Towers out the day after I post this video, so keep a lookout for that. I'll post all the relevant links down in the description box below so you can go see the other videos that have been made during Tolkien. So what is the Fellowship of the Ring about? And just before we go on, just want to say there will be spoilers here. If you haven't read the book or seen the movie, I suggest you go do that first before you watch this video. So Fellowship of the Ring basically is about the ring that Bilbo finds in the Hobbit. It is discovered that the ring is actually a very powerful ring that has been made by the Dark Lord Sauron, and he wants his ring back, and he's sending out his servants to find this powerful ring because he wants to use it to take over Middle Earth. So Frodo is tasked with by Gandalf, who is a wizard, who's also in the Hobbit as well. Frodo, who's a relative of Bilbo, is then tasked with taking the ring to Rivendell, and he's joined on this initial part of the journey by Sam Gamgee, who is his gardener, and his relatives Merry and Pippin. And they have some very interesting adventures along the way, but they eventually arrive at Rivendell safe and sound, which is the house of Elrond, who is a very powerful and ancient elf. There, representatives from Middle Earth, from the dwarves, the elves, and humans meet to discuss what they're going to do about the ring. And so it's decided that they are going to destroy it. So in order to see this mission through, a fellowship is created that is going to bear the ring to Mordor, which is the land where the Sauron is, and also the place where the ring has been created. And Frodo has to cast the ring back into the fire in which the ring was created in. So the fellowship is made up of hobbits, dwarves, elves, and humans, and one wizard, which is Gandalf. So you have Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, Gandalf, Aragorn, who is a human who actually helped lead Frodo and his companions to Rivendell, and he is of ancient blood, who actually has a claim to the kingdom of Gondor. He has very noble blood in his veins. Legolas, who is an elf from Mirkwood. There's Gimli, who is a dwarf who has relatives from dwarves that were in the original Hobbit series, in the original Hobbit book, not series. And then there's Boromir, who is from the land of Gondor, and he's basically come seeking help because Gondor is kind of like the first line of defense against the forces of Mordor. So they set out on this journey, and along the way they face many dangers, and it's a very harrowing journey for them. And by the end of the book, the Fellowship has been broken apart. People have died, people are lost, and people are separated and going to their separate ways. And you're kind of left in doubt if the journey will be successful, and also if the journey is going to be successful, who's going to survive to the end to see it through. So, what do I think about the Fellowship of the Ring now that I told you about the plot? What do I think about the Fellowship of the Ring itself, the book? And I think it's good, but I think it suffers from a pacing issue. I felt like in this book, especially in the because I read it as an audiobook, 6 hours of the book is basically from Frodo leaving the Shire till Frodo reaching Rivendell, which is kind of like almost the midway point in the book. And stuff happens along the way, but I think this may also be because I know what's going to happen. It feels like there's a lot of stuff in there that could have, which makes Middle Earth feel really lived in. because you get a lot of you find out some more lore about Middle Earth. You get to see how ancient it really is, the diversity of beings that are in Middle Earth, some very interesting creatures, but they kind of don't really move the story forward much. And it kind of, for me, a lot of the um, parts of this book drags. And so far from reading The Hobbit and Two Towers, the Fellowship of the Ring for me is the only one that so far that has done this. I don't really remember my impressions of this when I originally read it back years ago, but reading it this time, this felt like there were parts of it where the pacing was just really slow and didn't really add to the story much. Added to the background of the story, but not so much to the story itself, to pushing the plot forward. So I have a question for you who have read The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Do you think that if J.R.R. Tolkien was writing the book today and has sent the finished product as we have it now to his editor, do you think that the editor would have had him take some of that stuff out and maybe include it in like a companion book, kind of what you see like the Silmarillion is? Or do you think that it would have been published exactly as is and it's fine? Um, Other than that, I thought that the story itself was good and was very interesting. And so let's talk about some of the interesting stuff in the Fellowship of the Ring. So there's the ring itself. So the ring is quite interesting because the ring isn't something that is ornate. It isn't. You expect the most powerful ring, the ring to rule them all, as it's called, because there were other rings created. There were 7 given to men. No, there were 9 given to men, 7 to the dwarves, and 3 to the elves. And then Sauron created this one powerful ring to basically rule them all and bring all the free people in Middle Earth under his dominion, under his power. And you expect the ring. I feel like if you told me about this ring, you would expect something very elaborate, something very eye-catching. Maybe has a stone and set in it, and instead it's just a simple band of gold, and this is unfortunately silver, but it's very simple ring. Like if you were in a jewelry store and you saw the ring, it wouldn't catch your eye. And instead, it's the most powerful and deadly object present in Middle Earth at the time. And it's very sly because a lot of people don't see the danger in the ring. When they see the ring or they hear about it, all they think about is the power that is behind the ring. And that's the most dangerous part of the ring itself. It seems to be not a bad thing at all. People who are tempted by the ring see it as a way to accomplish good. Boromir, who falls under the sway of the ring, imagines, he says, how much good we could do with that ring. I could save Gondor and stop the evil one. Saruman, when he's tempting Gandalf to join him in taking possession of the ring, he says, well, think about, we can stop the Dark Lord if only we had the ring. And I think that is the lore. The ends in this case do not justify the means, because once you start to use the ring, no matter what your intentions are, no matter how pure your intentions are, you will be changed by the ring, and it will twist your good intentions to evil. And that's something that's really interesting, because it kind of brings into a question: do the ends justify the means? And in this case, they don't at all, because it doesn't matter if you save Gondor, or it doesn't matter if you stop Sauron. In the end, you will basically become like Sauron. You will seek to dominate Middle Earth, and you will basically become Sauron 2.0. And you will carry, because the power is corrupting no matter how good your intentions are, and no matter who you are. Gandalf knows that if he comes into possession of the ring, that as powerful as he is, and he could do a lot of harm. Galadriel, the elf that lives in Lorien, she is very powerful as well, and she herself rejects the ring as well. And so it falls on perhaps the most unsuspecting of all creatures in Middle Earth, hobbits. Most people outside the Shire have not may have not even heard of or even seen. One of these creatures, the most unassuming of all creatures in um, Middle Earth, much like the ring itself, the most unassuming thing, the most unassuming creature is tasked to take the most unassuming ring and to destroy it. And it's a very heavy burden to bear. It's not just simply taking this object and just throwing it in the fire. It affects Frodo, even though he is not, when he's not wearing it, even if it's just hanging around his neck, it's having an effect on him. And as we go forward, you begin to see the effect that it's really having on him. But in this book, he does put it on a couple of times, and it betrays him kind of in this hour of need. There's this scene in the book where he's facing these servants of Sauron called the Nazgul. Basically, they're the 9 men who had the rings, who have been twisted to Sauron's will, and they're after Frodo. And Frodo is like, if I put on the ring, it can make me invisible, and I won't be seen anymore, and I'll be fine. And instead, what he doesn't realize is that the Nazgul can see him better with the ring on. So this ring is very feisty. It's very crafty. The reason why Frodo is wearing it around his neck is because Bilbo observed that there will be on his finger really tight and snug, and then suddenly slip off. And it kind of has a mind of his own, and you kind of see it did the same thing to Isildur. When he needed it the most, it slipped off his finger and revealed his location, and he was killed. And then Gollum, who took it and hid at the bottom of a mountain, suddenly one day just loses it, and it ends up in Bilbo's hands, and suddenly it's back in play in Middle Earth. So this ring is a very, very powerful and very mysterious object in the Lord of the Rings universe, and is the cause essentially of this big hoopla that's going on in Middle Earth. Now, there is an exception to the ring's corrupting influence, and that is a character that is not shown in the movies, but is mentioned in this book, and it's the character of Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil lives in this old forest, and Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin meet him while they're on their way to meet Gandalf as they're setting out from the Shire. And they get into a bit of trouble in the woods, and here comes along Tom Bombadil. And Tom Bombadil is a very interesting character. From what we know of him, the very little we do know of him, we know that he's old enough that he probably was there since the beginning of the world, the Middle Earth. He's as old as some of the oldest trees, at least, in Middle Earth. And he asked Frodo to show him the ring, and when he has the ring, he puts it on. He doesn't disappear at all, and everyone who's used the ring up to this point usually disappears, and he doesn't disappear. He willingly gives back the ring to Frodo, which is a feat in and of itself. And once Frodo has put the ring on, he can still see Frodo. So he seems to be a very powerful character, that this ring, who's corrupting everyone, or has started to corrupt everyone who's worn it or has possessed it. It's just like, it's just a magic ring, and no big deal. And one of the characters even suggests at the Council of Elrond, well, and Tom Bombadil isn't affected by it, he seems to be pretty powerful, why don't we just give him the ring and let him hold it? And Gandalf is like, well, the thing is he doesn't see the value in it, and to him it's nothing, so he'll probably just take it and lose it, and we can't have that because we need to destroy this ring. And that's another thing that is quite interesting. Someone suggests that you can take the ring and just throw it in the ocean, it would be fine, right? And Gandalf says, well, this is the problem. You take it and you throw it in the ocean, oceans change, and things change, and the ring could just suddenly pop back up at some point. We need to take care of this now. We can't kick the bucket down the road. And there are actually, in this today's world, there are some, real life applications of this, where if we keep kicking the bucket down the road saying, oh, this isn't a problem anymore, it could come back and bite us later. So we have a duty, just as much as the Fellowship had in the Lord of the Rings, in this book. You have a fellowship to not kick the bucket down the road and actually deal with it in our own lifetimes, and not say like, well, maybe if we throw the ring away, or maybe if we just push this problem down the road, someone else and further generations will deal with it. No, we need to deal with it now, and that proactive, um, proactive stance by Gandalf and the Fellowship, even though they know the road is going to be hard and it won't be easy, actually ends up saving Middle Earth and keeping evil at bay, at least in the form of Sauron at bay from taking over and enslaving all of Middle Earth. Another thing that I found really interesting was that even though I talked about it slowing down the pacing of the book, the world of Middle Earth, um, from J.R.R. Tolkien, does a really good job at making it feel lived in, and and making Middle Earth seem ancient, because Middle Earth is thousands of years old at this time, and actually Middle Earth, from the way that he is phrasing everything, is kind of in decline, and it's been declining for a while. So you had the first age, you had the second age, and now we're in the third age, and you hear of the elves passing off into the west. Galadriel says, after she has her confrontation with the ring, the temptation of her taking the ring, she says, now I will go and I will pass, and I will begin to fade, if I'm not mistaken. You hear of the blood of Numenor, which is found in very few humans now. You hear like Gandalf saying, oh, well, the blood of Numenor, you don't really see that much anymore, but you do see it in Aragorn. You see like a glint of it in him, but not like it was back in the day. So you hear of the grandeur of this world back when the world was young. You hear a lot about that, and J.R. Tolkien really draws you into this world, this ancient world, and you get to kind of explore all the in and outs with the people who live in the world themselves. A lot of the things that surprise you as the reader are surprising the readers there, because they think that a lot of the stuff is legend, or it's just things that people came up with in song. And so that J.R. Tolkien did a really good job in doing that, and really making this world feel fleshed out, feel real, feel lived in, feel aged, and you're kind of exploring it along with the characters who themselves don't know everything about Middle Earth. So I'm going to end this here because this video has been kind of long. So that is my thoughts on what things I found interesting in the Lord of the Rings. I keep saying Lord of the Rings. That's what I found interesting in the Fellowship of the Ring. And so I've finished reading the Two Towers. So I will have that video out the day after I post this video, I promise. What did you guys think about the Fellowship of the Ring? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree with some of the stuff I said? Not agree? Also let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28 and also on Goodreads. You can find a link to that in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.